Speaking of which, talk about balance here. Obviously, the balance segment of the show. Captain Planet came out with a meta report earlier today, or maybe late last night. I just saw it today. I obviously love this meta report. We've had Captain Planet on here before, and a lot of it is pertaining to NGE, which, obviously isn't every bit of competitive Overwatch right now, but it's definitely interesting to see what people have been playing. And what do you guys? Did you guys get a chance to look at this meta report, and what are you guys thinking? Because he leads off by even talking about just Pharah. We're seeing a little bit more Pharah, and we did. NGE, we definitely saw like Mangachu being pretty effective with Pharah in some of those matches. Any thoughts?
I mean, you go.
It just seems, I don't know, it seems about right. It seems like people are kind of fed up with playing the tanks, like the standard 3-4 man tanks, and playing, for instance, like the Tracer pick, the Pharah pick, the Genji, which can work decently well against the heavy tank setup since there's nothing that can really kill him easily. It seems like kind of what we expected when we saw not necessarily changes in the game, but changes within the meta itself, like with people kind of adapting and learning like what they can and can't do. The Tracer pick, that's to be that much higher than Soldier, first of all.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's pretty surprising, but I think people are realizing like how damn strong Pulse Bomb is. It's more of like the D.Va Roadhog Zarya though. Zarya and D.Va both 79% and Roadhog's at 52, which I don't know if that's just due to the caliber of teams necessarily playing in the tournament, or how comfortable they are, or how uncomfortable they are playing with a Roadhog or don't have a Roadhog player. But that's really surprising to me to see Roadhog at a lower percent.
Yeah. Zarya and D.Va really should be on tier A here. They're literally 1% lower than what it should be.
I don't know the map percentages. The thing with NGE is that it was I don't want to say it's skewed data, but it's misleading because of the fact that the map pool doesn't change every day. You know what I mean? Like one day it's the same map pool over and over. So like if you get a King's Row day, your Pharah will go up and a Hanzo will go up. And if you get like Ilios a lot, your Roadhog might go down and your Tracer goes up. And I think that's where we were. It might have been Nepal this week. I don't remember, but depending on the maps, like teams running quad tank, I think if you see quad tank now, if you see Zarya instead of 76, which is happening a lot, then like Pharah becomes really good, but that only works on certain maps. And then like depending on the map, Tracer becomes really good. So it's hard to tell because I think that there should have been map data along with this. Maybe there is. And I just
it was Temple of Anubis, Route 66, Watchpoint Gibraltar, Hollywood, Kings Row, Nepal. The maps in the pool this day.
And I think like AKM's been running Tracer exclusively, so he's buffing up that number a lot.
I'm actually surprised the McCree number is so low. I feel like we're seeing some more McCree, more than 4%. Maybe that's more from the Apex games than these games, but it's surprising for me to see that Tracer number. I didn't realize it was that high. Holy crap!
Yeah, Tracer's powerful. Pulse Bomb gets rid of Mech Suit pretty quickly. It's a free pick on Reinhardt sometimes if you can get it. It's a good combo.
We've been seeing Tracer on. I think we saw Tracer on even King's Row, like in some of those Apex.
Yeah, AZK has literally just been sitting on it the entire week.
Yeah,
it's working for Liquid, but
for Liquid. I think we even saw some in Apex too. So it's really great to see this kind of change happening right now. Is it in anticipation of the upcoming changes, or is this like a natural evolution of what was there?
Also, I think last week, I think actually people were screaming PTR in anticipation that PTR was going to drop last week. And I want to say that the same thing might have happened with OGN last night.
Yeah.
What the hell's with the OGN picks? Jesus Christ.
Which is what I think happens. So, Tracer definitely becomes better next patch because number one, like you can shred divas now pretty reliably, and you won't get like 1.0 hooked by Roadhog as often. Like if you blink, it's not going to pull you through a wall anymore. So I think that hero stock is going to start going up. But in terms of teams running dive comp, back to the original point of like Dragon Blade just wins. Like it doesn't matter how tanky your lineup is. Like a nano boosted Dragon Blade can just shred your entire team if like you get it off. So I think that was more or less last night's matches. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, why don't we just jump into some of the events? Just balance talk
Well,
and
sorry,
some of the
no, hold
events.
on, hold
Okay,
on.
go ahead, sure.
Before we
Yeah.
jump into Apex as well, or into the events, because going along with the meta report, I'm curious to see what it would have been for Apex, because we saw a ton of Reaper May. We saw a lot of Reaper, but also a lot of Reaper May again.
Which
In
event?
Apex.
In Apex. Okay, yeah. I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
and I was just like, what the hell is going on? Is this like last patch when Reaper May was like the thing? But like on the CP maps, like Temple of Anubis, we had like 2 Reapers I remember seeing from both teams.
There was a Winston on one side.
Yeah.
And then like they played single healer Hulk Winston, which they do on like some maps. So that forced the Reaper to come out from the other side. And then I think Taimu noticed that they didn't have a 76 or a McCree on the side of
It's on Anubis,
MVP.
right? We're talking Anubis,
yeah, it was on
right?
MVP.
Yeah.
So then when they got to the second point, there was no McCree or 76. So Taimu went Reaper to counter the Reaper. And Reaper's also just good at stalling at the point because you get that little burst of phase walk where you don't have to care about anything going on around you. But I mean, they got cleaned up actually, but I think that was why that happened.
Yeah, we saw all kinds of things actually on the Apex matches. It's definitely great to
those
get
MVP
a chance to talk
players,
about.
man.
Yeah. Well, let's get there in just a second, but let's talk about NGE just to kind of start off. NGE starting up again this actually today, actually maybe even right now.
No, it's an hour and a half.
Yeah, maybe an hour and a half. Yeah. Generally, Jason, did you catch up on a lot of these matches, or
I got to watch
chance
quite a few of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Just with a lot of these teams, because obviously a lot of the top teams are over there in Korea, so it's kind of cool to have this set of teams playing each other. What are your thoughts so far?
I was just pretty damn impressed with Kungarna in general. Basically leading the pack, and they had this ridiculous full push on Watch Punch or Balter with only a minute into the
Right.
and then 1 minute after finishing in overtime, and they full pushed against Renegades, who was playing extremely well the entirety of these round robin stages until I guess this week or this last week. But I don't know, they really surprised me. They're really coming together as a team, and they're really kind of showing how deep I guess the talent pool can be in North America, which is something Europe's lacking without any tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, look at this standings right now. Like, I think a lot of people wouldn't have predicted the standings to be like this to date. And yeah, Kungarn has been definitely one of those teams. Immortals obviously playing great too. I mean, just a solid. I don't know if they're playing like amazing if you compare them to something like Envious, but definitely just really solid generally speaking. Flame, what do you think overall? Just with the
tournament? I mean, Kungarna, they have. I don't know how Michael does it, but his mech suits are like probably the highest value mech suits in the. I don't want to say.
What do you mean by that?
But in that tournament, like he throws the self-destruct and like it always gets a kill or two.
Oh, I see.
And it's like reliably without any setup or anything. Like I feel like he just goes into a server and practices the exact drop locations to get them in like this optimal spot or something.
Yeah.
But they won a few games just off the back of his self-destructs, so they're looking good. The Renegades full hold or full push thing, I think, was a combination of Renegades throwing.
Yeah.
They tried to do like the spawn camp fight, which don't do that. I could do like an hour video on why you shouldn't do that, especially when you only have a minute. Like really risky, didn't pay off, and then they got slammed. LG looks very good. I have not seen like their record doesn't look so impressive. They're only 4-3, but as from a team perspective and like an individual player perspective, I think that they're starting to look pretty scary as an NA team, because I think this is like the first time that they've played since like the roster switches, or this is the first tournament that they've shown up in since they made the 3-way trade. FaZe obviously having a rough time with Mikey A.
I mean, overall, I feel like all the teams except for Citizen 7 are pretty close. I mean, these games, these matches have all been pretty tight and very, very competitive. I don't know if your thoughts are the same thing right now. I mean, you're talking about Luminosity looks like super good right now, but their record doesn't show that quite yet. That they've been outperforming all these other teams. I know it's early on, and it's just kind of what you're saying, but overall, like right this moment, I feel like all these teams could win this event right now. Like all 8 of these or 7 of these teams, or maybe 6 of these teams, could win this event, and that's awesome to see. It's awesome to have an event where you have literally so much parity.
Well, there's one team that can't at the moment because Complexity is like basically out right now.
Are they? Okay, I wasn't sure if they were
like
out
win every game and then like hope like Renegades
still
and
got a
Luminosity lose all their
chance. They
games,
still got a
or hope like
chance.
Liquid and Renegades lose all their games.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not that. I don't know what the schedule looks like, but the gap, like Immortals is 6-1, so like you assume that they're not going to throw their way out. If like any of these teams beat Kungarna, I don't know if they still have to play each other or how that's going to work, because it's double round robin each stage, right? I'm pretty sure.
I believe so. I believe it's double round robin. I believe they play each team twice.
So I mean, Complexity could just win. Like if Kungarna like loses to these teams enough, Complexity could just come out on top, depending on how this works.
No, it's single round robin. I'm
Well,
just
because it
same?
doesn't matter, right?
I
You
thought
just
it
have
was
to be
double,
top 4.
Okay. Well, anyways.
no, I'm looking through the matches on
Okay.
Wikipedia. But like, even if like Immortals lost every game, I think they're still gonna, and Complexity won every game, I think they're still gonna be better than them. I don't know. Does map score come into account or point score come into account when it comes to picking the teams with round robin?
It's tiebreaker, right?
It's tiebreaker.
Mhm.
No. I mean, like, so for instance, Immortals, they're 12-4 on maps, so they're like +8 in terms of points. Whereas like
No, I
Complexity
think
10.
I think it's like, again, I think it's just
Okay.
a tiebreaker. The record's the most important, and then if you go like a look at the 4 and 3 guys, right? Then they would look at the best, winning or whatever percentage in terms of the maps won.
I mean, it's technically still, it's still anyone's chance. Like they each play 5 matches more,
Yeah.
so there's still a chance. But I don't know. Complexity has to come up pretty big today. I feel like, or
Yeah.
like, because they play Liquid and Immortals and Immortals today. So they're playing against number 3 and number 1 team.
How do you think Complexity's playing? I mean, I feel like when I'm watching Complexity right now during this event, it's so much different than that Complexity we were watching at MLG. Like the Complexity, there were a lot of high hopes for Complexity going in MLG. A lot of people were very high on them after like scrimming against them. I think most teams were saying that Complexity might have been one of the hottest teams actually going into the MLG event, offline at least. And I was expecting big things for Complexity in this tournament, and seeing them, right now in 5th place or 6th place is really shocking to me.
I mean, when you lose a player,
Yeah,
and it's your tank player, and he's probably one of the best tanks in NA, then I mean, obviously you're going to do worse.
yeah, that's true.
And what's interesting is that one of their losses is to FaZe, not
Yeah,
to the top teams, but it's because Too Easy was on the FaZe roster when they lost to Complexity, or when they beat Complexity. So one of FaZe's 2 wins is actually against Cole, which makes them look worse, I think, than it seems. I don't know. Like if they had beaten FaZe, they'd be 4-3 and they'd be tied. So they're not super out. It's just I feel like you can't just like cut your tank player and expect results, which is why Renegades dropped. Renegades was like undefeated, I think, until last week.
Yep.
And they like decided to bench Man of Snow mid-tournament, and then they lose like every game that week except for like 1 or 2.
Well, especially for Complexity too. Like you're putting in a tank who went from like 20 MS to like 130 MS.
Yeah,
When
really
blocking
big.
Earthshatter
Yeah.
is massive in the current meta, and JKW seldomly ever let Earthshatters get through.
True.
So that's also a really rough thing for him to have to like adapt to the ping and somehow block like the most crucial ultimate in the game at the moment. Well, one of the most crucial ultimates.
Yeah, so anyways, catch a lot of matches actually in this week, so definitely be sure to catch that as this kind of rounds out into the final stages of this tournament. I feel like it's been going on forever now. these tournaments. And how many weeks has it been now? It's been
the qualifiers was in December, if I'm not mistaken.
Like
the
early
open play was
December.
in December.
Yeah, it wasn't late November, right? It was actually in
So
December.
it's the week before MLG.
Okay, so like the first week of. Okay, so we're going on 5 weeks now. And
I'm not gonna complain though. Like if this wasn't happening, what the hell? Would
I know there'd be
have
literally
two
nothing.
Apex matches
That's
a
true.
day. Like
That's
yeah.
true. Yeah. No, and
And
again,
we're about to be done. We're actually about, like you say that, but the well's about to run dry in 2 days.
Well, we'll
like-
see what kind of events get announced. Like things seem to just pop up like a week or two before, events happen.
Do we know what's happening with the offline finals, by the way, for that? I see it's like San Antonio, but I don't know if that's confirmed.
Oh, for
actually
NGE?
I've
being there.
Ooh, San
Yeah.
Antonio,
Rumors,
really?
But I don't know if I'm at liberty. I mean,
It's
I
a
heard it's
rumor,
going to be.
man.
No, I mean, well, it's rumored that it might be at PAX,
Really?
because
Wow.
PAX South is that same weekend, I
Okay.
think.
That would
That
make
makes
sense.
sense.
But
right?
I don't know if that's confirmed.
That would be interesting. It'd be
When
odd
is
to have an
PAX
event
South
at PAX. Like, I mean,
It's like the
actual
last weekend of
streaming
January
event.
or something.
Yeah.
Whew. So then, like, they have to finish this and then book all the travel and hotels and That's gonna be a little
It's
rough.
next week.
It's
I
2 weeks for
believe.
4. It's like 2 weeks of time, and they have 4 teams. So it's not. I mean, it's not super a lot, but
I
you know
think
what I mean?
PAX is next week. Yeah, it's next
the-
week. So
next
that
week, you mean like the 27th, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay.
It,
Well,
it, it says
it'll be cool.
January, right? Like there's only a week left anyway.
That's true.
So I don't. Yeah, it's not this
That's true.
weekend, obviously. So it has to be next weekend. But that's why I think it's in San Antonio.
Okay, well, it'd be kind of cool. It would be pretty cool to see a a big esport event at PAX. We definitely don't see that often, and especially at PAX South, we don't really see that at all because it tends to be the smallest one.
I'm jealous though. If you're going to PAX South, all that barbecue. Oh my god.
Dude, I love San. I'm from
You're on
Austin,
a diet,
right? So it's
Jason.
like-
You're on a diet.
I know exactly.
I
You couldn't
know.
eat it anyways. What are you talking about?
I would make an exception. I
Yeah.
would go on a break. Oh,
No,
Pulled pork
it's
for you,
definitely
dude.
great, good stuff
Dude,
there. Pulled
I
pork.
would like literally have a plate of that next to me while I was casting, and whenever the guy next to me was casting, I'd just sit there eating the whole time.
What, pulled pork? You gotta get that. You gotta
like
get that
anything
brisket
barbecue.
and
Anything.
ribs,
Anything
man.
you
You gotta
can
get
get
that
hands
good stuff. Yeah, yeah. Well, shoot, you gotta go to Austin. One of the events in Austin, Jason. We gotta meet up and take you to some good stuff, man.
Gain 10 pounds.
Exactly. You will. I promise you, you will for sure. It's crazy good. Okay, well, let's move on to Apex Season 2. So the season just started with the first 2 matches. But before that, they announced the teams. So why don't we take a look at the teams first, and then we'll talk about it. 4 Western teams are actually or have been invited, and just like last time, each of the Western teams are in different brackets. So actually, did they put them in the same brackets last time? I can't remember now. But anyways, each of the 4 teams are in different groups this time around. So we at least won't be seeing them playing each other until they get out of the groups. And looking at all the groups, I mean, Group B just stands out. It's like, wow, that group is crazy stacked. Like, if you would have thrown Envious in there, probably instead of Misfits, it would just be bloodbath, like crazy, some of the best teams in the world, all in the same group. But overall, what's your thoughts on the groups, Jason?
Poor Misfits. Poor Misfits. They can't escape Lunatic High.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? They keep playing them over and over.
I was on Twitter, like, I don't know, last week, and Alecus, he's like, I think like the GM or whatever, president of Misfits, he DMs me and he's like, I'm tilted. No, like, I don't even really talk to him that much, but I think I tweeted out something about like the groups not being announced. He's like, I'm tilted. I was like, why? He's like, my group is ridiculous, but it's not announced yet. He's like, just wait. And then I waited for the announcement, and I was like, oh my god, like, sorry, dude.
Sorry, dude.
Like, apparently there was
man.
a big backlash like in Korea for this. I think that they got a lot of I think there was like an uproar, actually. I mean, there was a thread about it. I didn't go too deep into it, but I think that the Korean fans were pretty mad about the way that Group B was so stacked.
Oh, they like it spread out more, I guess, with their teams.
Well, like you could argue that any of those 3 teams, like Blue, Misfits, and Lunatic High, could arguably like make it to the finals.
Yeah.
Like depending on the day. So, or they wanted to at least see. But if you're Misfits now, losing yesterday, you have to beat Lunatic High now, or you're just out. Like,
Well, I mean,
round
Blue-
robin doesn't give you a lot of room to like wiggle.
Yeah, I mean, Blue looked really good yesterday against Misfits. So, yeah, I mean, having to beat Lunatic High is going to be pretty tough. I haven't seen Africa. I haven't seen AFR much. I mean, obviously I've seen AFB, but have you guys seen Red play a bunch? Okay, yeah. So that's a question mark for me. I have no idea how good or bad that team is. But we can talk about some of the other groups. Envious. I think a lot of people thought Envious was an easy group, but then we saw the first match between MVP and them, and it was a great match.
I mean, to be fair, right? They haven't practiced in like a month and a half.
True,
like,
but
I'm not
yeah.
gonna take that one too harshly.
Also, to add on to what you're saying, it was Ilios and Anubis. So if there was ever a map you're gonna lose when you might have thought you were gonna win, it's those 2 maps.
Okay, sure, but they had an epic. They had
Kings
an
Row was
epic game on
nuts.
Kings
Kings Row
Row.
was
That was
actually-
like
yeah,
a
Kings Row was actually
phenomenal
nuts.
game. Yeah, that was an awesome map. And I mean, watching MVP, they impressed me, at least watching them.
Their ult economy is probably the best I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like in terms of just how well, like their defense was very well thought out, and they played very accordingly, I think.
Yeah, and spoilers, if you guys don't want to know the results, just stop listening right now because I'm gonna say the results. I All right, give me a chance to mute. MBS ended up winning 3-2, but they were down 2-1 at one point, so they actually had to come back and win the last two maps to beat MVP. But it's definitely good for them that they ended up doing that, and they should get through the groups now. I mean, BK Stars might be a bit tough, but Meta Athena, you guys know anything about that team?
They're scary, actually.
Are they? Okay, I don't know anything about them.
They were like called the Meta, I think, or they went by the Meta, like that was their team name.
Yeah.
And I think that they got sponsored for this event. I don't know. I talked to Taimu last week before he flew out, and he was saying like there's a team that no one's ever heard of with all these players no one's ever heard of, and they're very good. I think it's them. So, I mean, I wasn't impressed with BK Stars last season, so I'm hoping I want to see more of MVP Infinity, but I'm curious as to how good this Meta team is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cloud9's group, it's got KU in it and AFB. So definitely some experienced teams in there. It'll be good to see how C9 does against them. Conbox too. Yeah, Conbox is actually. Conbox played in China, right? Or did they?
No, they didn't.
They didn't. Okay, no.
For me, it's more like Cloud9 getting Korean experience. The only team that had it was Surefour at BlizzCon, if I'm not mistaken. No, Adam as well.
I mean, you could argue that the Korean World Cup team was better than Lunatic High, so it's hard to tell.
True, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible. Definitely possible.
I'm more worried about like Cloud9 getting swarmed with girls though. Like they have a pretty attractive team. Like Reinforce gets swarmed.
Wow. The things you gotta worry about.
Gets swarmed. Yeah, man. Like I've seen at some events. I'm not gonna name any names where women do ruin the performance of a team because some of the players are out busy.
In Overwatch,
hanging out with them
or in another game.
Yeah,
in Overwatch.
Overwatch and other games.
Stay away from girls at lands, guys.
Okay. Yeah, girls.
Well, I remember
killer of esports.
NIP and CSGO, I don't know if they still have this clause in their contract, but they're not allowed to have their girlfriends or any women with them for the entirety of the event. Like they're not allowed to sleep in the same room, so they actually sleep like with their teammates, so they can stay focused.
I think that's a normal thing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So is there a clause where you can't? Let's just say there's a female player that you can't date players either.
I mean, I don't think it'd be the smartest move, anyways.
I know, but I'm just saying it'd be interesting if there's even a clause.
2 easy steps.
Yeah, that's true. two easy steps.
No internal. It's like a fraternity. You don't date brothers or whatever.
You don't break. There's probably other reasons why people don't usually date brothers though in fraternities. But okay, Fnatic. They've got KP and they're at Kongdu Panthera, which is a team that a lot of the Western players were saying like were awesome in scrims, just never had any results in any of the events.
That was before Korea, yeah. They lost Bishop because he couldn't be there due to issues. So they looked like a terrible team when they played at IM, but we definitely heard the same things about them.
Yeah, so it'd be good to see them, getting a chance to run against Fnatic and Runaway and Flash Lux. So it's a solid group of teams in this season of Apex. Really excited to get a chance to see how it plays out. It's gonna be good. What'd you guys think of the LW Blue Misfits match? So again, spoilers, guys. Give you a second. LW Blue ended up winning 3-1 over Misfits, and I don't know. It looked pretty. They looked like they did it pretty handily, in my opinion, when I was watching it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Any intriguing
I like their match on Volskaya. Where like Misfits got this really weird comp, and Sabiobi got like dumpstered in the beginning by Maniton on Widowmaker, but to like adapt their style to what they saw all of a sudden was really well done. I think that's like really promising sign of the team, because that was such a weird comp to come win with. That was like Winston, Genji, Widowmaker, Mercy, Pharah, and I can't remember last one for Zave. Like it's not a very standard comp you're gonna see when playing, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I heard mixed reviews. I fell asleep during this because it was at like, I don't know, really early my time. It was like 5 a.m. But I just I'm pretty sure that they ran off meta things. Like I think they tried the Lunatic High comp with the Tracer Genji Widow, and it just didn't work. But they stayed on it like stubbornly, and then wound up losing. And I mean, you can't really get away with that. So
they were just maybe experimenting with some things. You think?
Well, so, the way the maps work out, if you mess up one of your like modes that you really should be winning, I guess, or that you think you should be winning, it really can backfire. Like imagine if MBS had lost the payload map yesterday, like it would have been a different result. And I think that's kind of what happened to Misfits yesterday, where they just got swarmed by the luxury watch dive comp and couldn't respond to it correctly, or weren't doing things themselves correctly. I don't know. I have to watch that.
How'd you think this looked overall? Because I still think they're still getting into form just with the new roster. Even though we've been saying that for a few weeks now, but
even Reinforce tweeted out like they could have won that match. There was just some problems within the team and like how they played. Like I don't know, they seem to have played better back when we saw them at IEM, when they played like a kind of more of a normal style, but they seem to want to bring their own style to the mix by all these like weird picks and weird comps. It's just not working yet.
All right. Well, let's see who's next actually in the matches. Do you guys know the next couple matches that are going to be shown here? I
can tell you in a second.
Yeah, let me see.
I just know it involves C9 and Fnatic.
Yeah, I'm almost positive we'll have C9 and Fnatic involved. I mean, they kind of have to, right? Get it going. Or maybe they break it up. Maybe it's just C9.
Spirit versus Cloud9.
Okay, that's a good start.
And Panthera versus Fnatic.
Ooh, okay. I want to see that one. That one's going to be.
I think they both need to win. Round robin is so do or die, man. You have to win your first match. I think, like,
yeah, you have
2 wins is good enough. 3 wins, like 1 win is not good. So it's scary. Like Misfits is already against the wall right now, arguably.
Yeah, it's going to be tough actually, but it'll be pretty epic if they get through. Hopefully they get it together. I'd love to see Misfits just get it together during like mid-tournament and make a good run.
I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on like how long this league tournament is. It ends in April.
Well, we know it's like 2 months.
I feel
we know that.
I have a strong opinion, I guess, and it's not. I mean, it's not a bad one. It's just like I don't know how you feel because you cast full time, but as someone who like is looking for things to do, like as a streamer, I don't even stream like the gameplay that much. Like I'm more about just doing the VODs, and like when there's not that many VODs, it really makes my life worse, I guess. And not knowing what's going to happen with tournaments, because I like NGE, like I'm down with them, but the fact that like 3 teams got shuffled in last minute and now there's not going to be any NA tournaments with like arguably the top 4 or like 3 teams at the event for 3 more months is kind of weird.
I mean, generally monopolizing, I guess, the top teams, you know, and we're looking into the future, right? We're looking in the future where we're going to have an Overwatch League. They're going to have all the teams for 6 months, and then we'll have 3 months to play with, maybe 5 months to play, or sorry, 6 months, 5 months to play with, let's just say. Definitely not a huge fan of organizations nabbing the top teams up and, you know, having just other events have to just like, I guess, mix and match or try to get the rest of the teams, you know, second tier 2 teams, just for lack of a better name, or even tier 3 teams. That's definitely tough. At the same time, I think it's good to have a little bit of that because, again, you get to showcase these teams. These teams get a feeling of winning. You know, like winning is a big deal. You know what I mean? Like you have to be successful to actually get enough confidence to continue on and continue into the next phase where you're challenged and you're beat, and then you know kind of continue getting better. I've always been a huge advocate of that, and I think it's good to have a little bit of it. But to your point, Flame, I think I wish Apex was a little shorter, and you know it's like maybe 6 weeks, you know, maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks. That would be like the max for me. But we're talking about 2 months, solid months, and they're in Korea too. They're nowhere close, you know.
It's rough. I mean, they're working with a TV studio, so they have obviously a set time slot. Like they have to work around that. And it's not a bad thing. It's just from my perspective, it makes the scene just a little weirder,
a little more stagnant. It's a little more stagnant.
I mean, like you're seeing a lot. There's been more roster swaps in the past 2 weeks than there probably have been in the past like 6 months. But I think it has a lot to do with the fact that nobody feels pressured by tournaments. But yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know.
Right. Go, Jason. Go. No? Okay. All right. Well, why don't we've got some emails, but before we get to emails, I do want to give a shout out to some of the folks on iTunes. For those you don't know, the Overview is available in iTunes as well as other audio channels like Google Podcast and Stitcher and SoundCloud. And do want to give a shout out to some of the folks on iTunes that have left some 5-star reviews and some awesome words for us, or just comments that make us feel good, but also help other folks that are looking for Overwatch podcasts find us. So a big shout out to Johnny Destructive, Moonbeam, Mark, MCP, Angry Birds Are Greedy, and Kick 130. It's the best way to help us out right now, guys. So if you do listen to it on iTunes, or you do have an iTunes account and enjoy the overview, go and leave us a 5-star review. It would be amazing if you do. But let's move on to some Q&A. We've got some emails this week, which is really, really cool. From A teammates, and actually this is one we got last week, Play, but it just works out perfectly because I saved it for this week, and you're on this week. In Flame's recent analysis of PTR update, he mentioned that there is an underlying problem in Overwatch between damage and healing. He said that DPS characters do damage to other DPS heroes, but do not do enough damage to tanks, mostly due to the constant healing they receive. As a solution, he recommended an overall nerf to healing and buff to damage. Any thoughts? So I'll ask Jason this first, given that we Flame. Yeah,
I want to clarify though before he goes that I never said buff damage. I said nerf both.
Nerf both. Okay, Jason, what do you think?
I thought we were just gonna have Flame just go on with this one. I think I was gonna have to answer that one.
No, well, it was meant for us, given that Flame's analysis of it, right? So
do you want me to say my thoughts and then you can respond?
So is it I guess the argument is based off you're killing damage dealers too quickly and tanks too slowly. So by nerfing damage and nerfing healing, you can not kill damage dealers as quickly.
Well, like my logic is the problem isn't so much the tanks are overpowered; it's the fact that tanks are like the only things right now that you can reliably heal, because everything else just gets exploded.
Right.
So
yeah,
like so if you play a defensive McCree, there's no way for you to like make sure that he doesn't get insta-gib by a Roadhog or two-shot by an enemy McCree. So like Anna never really gets a chance to heal that McCree, and then Zenyatta doesn't, like, you know what I mean? Like you're either being actively healed or you're dead. And that's kind of the way the game is right now. I don't know.
I wonder
think
though,
that's more of a problem.
Isn't that supposed to be like the downside of play to DPS? Like Tracer has 150 HP. You're not supposed to be able. She's not supposed to be able to survive like a lot of damage.
Well, Tracer has mobility, right? Like I think Tracer's like the exception. I'm talking like more like the McCree 76 Reaper-esque kind of things, where like if you turn a corner into a flashbang, you're just kind of dead. There's no like anti-heal for you. Or like if 76 two-taps your head and shoots a rocket, you're just kind of dead as most heroes. Like I think that the issue is that there's no skirmishing. It's just kind of like for DPS classes in general. It's like there's not enough skirmish. It's mostly like first click wins, arguably. I don't know. That was more or less what I was saying.
First hook,
right now.
First hook, or stuns, or whatever it is. Yeah.
I think something like this can be mitigated. Like that's obviously one way of doing it. But like, what about adding a hero who could instantly like shield someone? I don't know. Like obviously you have Zarya, right? But like, what if there's a support that could like pull someone to you, like on your team, or like offer a shield or overhealing? I don't know. Like that's something that I would have to like literally sit and think about for a little bit, to think about like the ramifications of nerfing one, nerfing both. Like it also challenges the whole mindset of should you expect like a hero like McCree to survive like a combo from someone? Like even if it is a McCree, if he flashbangs you and headshots you, isn't that like a level of skill as well to be able to pull that off, or is it too reliable of a thing so it shouldn't necessarily happen? I don't know. That's like a really hard question to answer, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I was all I wanted. My only like thought was like just nerf headshot damage, and maybe the game would be a lot different. Just across the board.
Just make it harder to kill people, or at least harder to kill DPS best characters.
Like, I mean, you can rebalance everyone's damage. So like, there's like maybe you have to like bring up someone else's damage. Like maybe McCree's left click needs to go up a little bit because the headshots are less valuable. I was just more saying like, if a McCree and a 76 turn a corner, it's more or less who shot first, as opposed to like who can position themselves. I mean, obviously positioning is a big thing, but if you're outside of a Reinhardt shield right now, you're usually just dead.
For some reason, I think a World of Warcraft, like Arena, when it comes to this, like in early Arena, it wasn't about surviving for a long time and having these half-hour fights. It's about like who could burst someone down the quickest. And then like later on in World of Warcraft, it became of like who can outlast the other opponent longest. It wasn't more about bursting. It was just like kind of who can last the longest in a fight and kind of outplay in the long run against someone.
Well, it's all the little things.
I kind of see something similar to this.
Yeah, it's all the little things. Like you want all the little minute details to really add up to, a win, versus just sudden things that sometimes can be lucky. As skilled as these guys are, sometimes it can be a lucky shot or a lucky whatever, and then it just caps somebody and it just completely swings a fight. I think it is better to have the players show like skill for a longer period of time as in these fights, these team fights, these skirmishes, and it's fun to watch too. Like we actually get a chance to see how badass these guys are.
We'll look at World Cup with like Taimu, right? On Dorado, where you got like 4 headshots at the end defending by himself.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's 100% there. I just think like the weird balance between I'm down with Roadhog instigating people. I'm not like saying we should nerf Roadhog again. I'm just saying like obviously you can outplay Roadhog with positioning. I just meant more like there's no real way to like I don't feel like Anna gets the same value out of healing a McCree. Like I don't think she'll ever get that value, or like even like Zenyatta to an extent right now. So like you wind up in this weird spot where heroes are kind of dependent on the healers because like the healers are more effective with certain like there's like a whole flow chart I think in my head that I can't really explain in words without a long-winded explanation. But I think it was more or less the fact that most firefights are over within like a second between DPS classes.
I think you're onto something. There's definitely some tweak. I don't think it's far off. Like I think it's pretty close. It's just there could be a little bit of tweaking there for sure. All right, Diego A. This last question. We're actually running out of time here, but he asks: there are some problems in the current state of the competitive community, and there's been a lot of talk about, just 2CP maps and replays, things like even map, just map bans and proper stats and things like that. And his question is, do you guys think that all of these things will find its way into the Overwatch, or will find its way into the game before the Overwatch League comes out? And if not, which of these features do you think Blizzard's highest, I guess, has as the highest priority right now?
Yes. Why? There's no reason I could possibly see with the amount of time they have and the amount they're still working on the Overwatch League that all of these little features aren't going to be done by them. Like, they have to be. You cannot launch a league like this with having sports investors of multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar teams into this league and not be prepared to this extent.
Yeah.
Flame?
Okay. Flame?
Yeah, I mean, I hate being the naysayer. It's just I actually get scared personally about like the longevity. Like sometimes I come off as like super toxic or angry at like the game or the developers or something, but it's mostly I'm actually just like afraid, and like I've been afraid since last year, and I'm not super afraid now because like I know the esports team is like super hardworking and I love all of them, but when you get to the nitty gritty of like the inner game workings, it gets a little scary. Like the vision that like the esports team has, like Nate and like everyone on like under him is like very good, and like I love all of it. But when you get like what Jason's saying, like if you don't have replays and stuff and like in-game spectating, it starts to get a little weary as to like how big it can get in like certain time frames, and like you wonder like how important the initial time frame is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that first month, I think is usually like, it's a big deal. Like that first couple of months. I'm not saying that like games haven't bounced back or anything. It's just,
no, the first impression is a huge thing. So, when you present this giant product, which is the Overwatch League, to spectators, it's got to just wow and impress people. And particularly the esports scene, you just can't be missing things that are considered requirements now in terms of esport. And replays definitely are something, just even in terms of behind the scenes, you just have to have replays. I'm confident they'll have replays for sure. I'm confident these map issues, with 2CPs and that can be figured out, even just like map banning and things like that. I mean, that's stuff that you can fix like right now, instantly. It's just organization. It's more of an event organizer's decision. And proper stats, they're already there. It's just a matter of, laying it out. So I'm a little bit more in the bucket of Jason where, yeah, all these things can be fixed. The one thing that I'm a little bit worried about is still spectator. I still don't think we're there, like in terms of watching. Like even OGN, it's just like there were times we were just stuck. I mean, they tended to focus on the attack team, which is fine, but we're just stuck on Tracer, like we're literally just watching Tracer, even though, they're playing super well. The Tracer character is playing, or whoever it is playing awesome, but it's not easy to watch if I didn't know Overwatch. It's still not there. So that's the part that I'm not sure will be, like top tier whenever the Overwatch League is ready to go, and we might not be at that moment like ready for that, but everything else I think should absolutely be in place and ready to go. So
I looked at like the in-game schedules and streams
Yeah,
and
yeah.
features stuff like that. Guaranteed should be
Yeah.
in there. Like, there's no we're gonna go into a league and have the viewership we have now, and say, hey, sponsors, look, we have 100K like peak. Like that just it. Like how as a sports team or sports team owner are you gonna say 100,000 cool? We get every week millions. Like you're gonna need to bump up those numbers, and the easiest way to do that is make it so
Absolutely.
people can watch. The
You gotta
stream
inflate
in the
those
client.
numbers. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been giving feedback pretty consistently daily about the spectator UI, just in getting the colors. Like, actually, like this is if I'm
The
going to
red
change
is
one thing
terrible.
right
We
now.
talked
it's that
about it
red.
last
that
week.
red needs to go
I
right
hate
now.
the red, dude. Totally
they keep
hate
trying
the
to
red.
find a way to make it work. The new font in PTR is very good. If anyone's watching this at Blizzard,
True.
the new PTR font is very good on spectator, but the red, like you can't do it. Stop trying to do it. Stop trying to make red happen. Some Mean Girls stream now.
Some Mean Girl stream. We still got to figure out third party, just like overhead views, a little bit better too. There needs to be a lot of time spent on that from just cam folks and figuring out how to get the best perspective. How to get best perspective when teams are obviously wiped and then coming back from the point, or maybe even when just like there's a single hero that's being stalled out on purpose by the other team, right? Just to kind of just delay the spawns, right? Just so and those kind of things I think are not portrayed like very well in terms of like the spectator. There's an art to it. God, there's such an art to it.
Like look at spectating when the game first started. Look at spectating now. Like,
oh no,
it's
there's
a ton.
improved.
Like,
It has.
even at casting, I think it just takes time.
Well, there's people that are dedicated now to it. Like, I'm not going to speak to NGE. I think NGE is in a weird spot because they didn't hire outside yet. I don't know if they're hiring outside for LAN, but the MLG guys, like, there's like people now that are, and like I think the people that were at MLG were mostly the same people that were at World Cup, and they're like dedicated now themselves to like, how do we spec this? What's the best way to look at this ult? Like, how do I figure out the game? Blah blah blah.
That's good.
So I mean, in an ideal world, right, you'd get like a delayed stream, and then the like auto camera, which would know who made the plays because it would be showing 10 seconds later from that perspective. Like you could do a lot of stuff like that, like Dota has, but we're not there yet. So that stuff's gonna come in time. I'm just like really scared, I guess, of like, what if we don't get the? I want in-game spectating. Like I don't care how bad it is. I just want to be able to say like, oh, there's a 4,500 SR match going on right now. I want to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. I
And
don't
then see that player who's purposely trolling to lose the game.
Yeah, dude. Then
Exactly.
you report them. Yeah, then you
Exactly.
report them
Oh, that's
spectator,
true.
but,
You
like,
could go.
yeah.
That maybe that's the anti-hacking the tool that they're making. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that there are people working on it. It's just I feel like we're not clear on what it's supposed to look like because what's good to watch, or spectator Overwatch doesn't have to be in-game Overwatch. Like it doesn't have to be CS:GO where it's like you have to see the headshot sniping and things like that. Definitely there are moments that we do want to see that, but we have the ability to have Overwatch look more like MOBA-esque than we do, first person, like CS:GO-ish. We have those options, and it's like figuring out exactly what we want it to look like. I don't think we've determined that yet. Like I don't think Blizzard even knows that yet. And it's still a kludge of both, and trying to figure that out. Because definitely in team fights, it's much better to see it from above. It's more impressive to show the player's skill from first person, but it's much more better composition-wise from above, in my opinion.
Ideally, we'll get to a situation where like team fights don't happen as quickly after another, so you can have the fight break down, like happen with whatever person you're watching, and then re-show the fight in free cam, and then like what we did in LCS, or eventually what we did in LCS was you'd see the fight and then they'd do a replay and give the color caster time to talk about what happened and where happened and how the fight broke down.
Right.
It'd definitely be a lot better if you have like that option eventually.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fights happen so often; it's really hard to squeeze in a team fight.
It is, and it's not an
quickly
easy
get
job.
all the angles you need.
It's
for
not
it.
an easy job. Like I'm not saying it is, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe they haven't figured it out yet. I'm not saying that by any means. It is like probably the hardest thing to do in terms of production of Overwatch, is figuring out still how to show it. It's the most complex thing to watch, no question. And if we figure it out, holy shit, it's going to be just absolutely incredible. Like, no question. I think even with that said, I still think the Overwatch League will still have, immense success. I don't know if it's going to be top esports, right off the bat or anything like that, but it'll definitely have like a good amount of success.
It would be really cool.
Yeah.
If like you can't in-game spectate, to have the ability to like, I just want to watch Surfer's point of view the whole game, but I want to hear the casters. Like to be able to just watch a player's point of view and listen to the casters at the same time. If you can't obviously be in the game like Counter-Strike or something.
I mean, that's like Dota.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You want Dota TV, and I think I'm not saying that they should go copy everything from Dota, but I think a lot of the things that Dota has is very, very impressive from a spectator perspective, or just like someone who doesn't actually want to play.
They leverage the client to do that. You know what I mean? Instead of having production, you could have a separate stream, or you could have us, multi-streaming type of thing. Like ESPN has like all these. If you watch like some events, right? ESPN's streaming a solution. There's like, I forget what it's called, but there's something that literally shows like 4 different camera angles, like in a basketball game or something, and you're watching all those at once instead of just a single cam. I mean, you could do something like that on a stream too. It's more about, you can create production that makes up for not having that client solution. So you can do it one of, whichever way is probably the quickest and easier for them. That would be an added value, I guess, and an added way of watching the games, which is pretty cool.
Plus in-game drops.
In-game drops. Oh yeah, we had one, right? We actually had a. Wait, what do you mean in-game drops? Maybe I'm interpreting it wrong.
Like if you're watching the game when the match is happening during like the event, you have a chance to get like.
Oh, you mean drops? Okay, yeah. You mean like loot box cases and stuff like that. Yeah, that's true. I thought you meant like the game dropped, and then we actually had that kind of happen, right?
I want those jerseys. I want jerseys, man. Like I load up streams, and I'm sure there's probably a way to do this. I'm just really bad at like reading the graph at the top.
Yeah.
But like figuring out which team is on defense and which one's on offense the second I join a stream, I think is important, and I can't do that right now. And I've been watching this game a lot.
Apex does it well, right? They have like A and D or something like that on like the sides on the very right hand side or left or right hand side, depending on where you're looking.
I've never seen that, but you're probably right.
NGE maybe.
Someone's probably doing it, but the point is like it's not standardized, so I don't look to that. But yeah, it's because in TF2 I think like blue is attacking, red's defending, but that's not like my brain just breaks and it's just like a habit. But I wish that like
somebody brought that up last
some
week.
Nice sliced blue jerseys.
Oh, you mean the rosters? Yeah, that's true. Wait, did you
want
the
option?
You want the heroes, or you just want them to?
No, I want the heroes. Like I want a default like jersey skin, and then you just pick the 2 colors that go on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
You do that in the lobby, and it's easy and nice and clean, and no questions asked.
That's true. I think that would be pretty nice too. Just get rid of the red, guys. Get rid of the red.
Ditch the red.
Or the red
Make
letters.
Them the orange team.
The red
like
letters.
Blue versus orange.
The red letters. Okay, well, I think that's it for the questions this week, guys. Great episode. Nice, solid hour 40. But why don't we do some shout outs now? Flame, great having you back. You want to do some shout outs? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Discord. I think my Discord will probably be pretty big tonight. I don't want to like advertise in here. But,
why? That's what you're supposed to do.
All right, well, join my Discord. It's discord.gg/flame. We'll do some NGE analysis casting. I don't know who I'm going to get tonight, if anyone's going to come. Last week we did it with Too Easy and
sweet,
ChanManV. That was pretty funny, actually.
That's cool.
He got Too Easy like the week after he got cut. Had a pretty salty cast, but
he was just saying everyone was shit, I bet.
No, it was just he only wanted to come in. He only wanted to come in when FaZe was playing, and then he'd be like, "They cut me for this. They cut me for
Oh my god!"
It's like I could have won it for them. I could have made that play.
No, he was saying because there was like a weird tiebreaker scenario where if like Complexity had beaten someone and someone had lost to someone else, FaZe was going to win the tiebreaker versus Cole because they beat them head to head, but they only beat them head to head because he was there. He's like, I literally would have gotten them through this tournament. It's just really funny. But
okay, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had Taimu analyzing the meta, talking about random stuff.
Yeah,
Taimu's always a blast. But
yeah, he is. One of these days
we'll get him
on
thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course, man.
You definitely should.
Definitely. Jason, where can people find you?
Twitter, Twitch, though I haven't streamed in like forever because I get too salty and play ranked. Shout out to parents like every week for let me do what I do. ChanManV for having the show. Flame for joining us. ESL for letting me do Overwatch. And the viewers. Yeah.
Yes, the viewers are good. Definitely, the viewers are good.
I wanna badmouth you for a second because I looked at your Twitch today or your Twitter and it said I'm streaming, and I clicked your link and it was only an hour later and you weren't streaming.
Yeah, I didn't want to play.
Dude, rule number one to streaming: you have to stream a long time.
It's a lot of work, and I like being lazy sometimes. And yeah,
I know.
I
know how that feels too, dude. It's like
I don't want to play. I don't want to play Overwatch. Like I hit my mark that I want to hit the season after like a long, strenuous 12 hours a day for an entire week playing.
Play something else.
Yeah, but
like,
yeah,
it's hard to go variety. It really is. Like even I've tried. There's so few games that are fun right now. Maybe it happens, right?
Well, it's the off season. It's the off season, right? Like there's no games that come out during this time. So
yeah, but the thing is, like Overwatch is really good from a casual perspective, but once you start playing ranked, your mindset just goes into like the.
I know exactly what you mean, dude.
It's completely It's like someone just dumps the thing of salt in your head. Unless you go for 13 hours, in which case your brain shuts off.
Yeah, you don't care. You're just like zombie pushing play. Play.
Just go.
Exactly. But I'll round things out. Thanks to the two of you guys for doing the show. Those of you that might be wondering where Ben is or Fishsticks is, he's just boggled down with some work right now, so that's why he wasn't here. But he'll be back next week, guys, so don't worry about that. You can find the VODs for the overview on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ChanManV. Any of the previous episodes too. We've done some awesome episodes, so definitely go back and check those out because it'd be nice. Also, we're available to audio folks on iTunes as well as Google Podcast and SoundCloud, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, all of those things. So if you have anything that you listen to podcasts on, you can find the overview there just by searching for the overview or Overwatch. And I want to plug the Twitter account too for the show because I'm always terrible about doing it. Definitely follow the show at the Overview GG. And you'll find out just the latest on the show, like who's going to be on and, all that good stuff. But that's going to be it, guys. So for Flame, Jason Kaplan, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Later.